As the chill of December 1620 set in, the Pilgrims found themselves in a world far removed from anything they had known. The Mayflower, their vessel across the tumultuous Atlantic, remained anchored within sight, its presence a stark reminder of their isolation. With no time to waste, the men began constructing the first structures. The common house, a simple yet vital building, rose from the ground, serving multiple purposes: a place of worship, communal meetings, and shelter against the harsh elements. The first winter was merciless. The settlers battled cold, disease, and a scarcity of food. The general sickness took a grim toll, claiming the lives of nearly half the Pilgrims, including their first governor, John Carver. Yet, amidst the sorrow and loss, the Pilgrims' resolve did not waver. They clung to their faith and to each other. Their determination fueled by the Mayflower Compact's promise of a new society based on collective agreement and self-governance. A Pilgrim writes in their journal,
"We buried our dead on the hill, marking no graves, lest the Indians perceive our numbers diminished. Yet we remain steadfast, our covenant with God and one another, our solace in this wilderness."
The Pilgrims' endurance through that first winter laid the groundwork for their community. It was a testament to human resilience and the power of a shared vision for the future. The first year of the Plymouth settlement was marked by a relentless battle for survival. The Pilgrims faced not only the brutal New England winter, but also internal strife as they struggled to establish a communal way of life. Their initial system of labor and provision, where all worked for the common good and shared equally in the harvest, led to tension and discontent. Some felt the burden was not equally carried, and as the winter claimed lives, the strain on the community grew. The seeds they brought from England failed to thrive in the stony New England soil. The Pilgrims watched in despair as crops withered, their hopes for a bountiful harvest diminishing with each passing day. The Mayflower, their link to the Old World, remained anchored offshore, a constant reminder of the home they had left behind. Its presence was both a comfort and a symbol of their isolation, as they were forced to keep it anchored due to the lack of a suitable harbor and the necessity of its supplies. A Pilgrim writes in his journal,
"Our provisions being spent, and we looking daily when our ship should go for England, we began to gather our small harvest, having no more but a little corn which we set with our own hands, and it prospered very well."
The death of their original governor, John Carver, added to the colony's challenges. William Bradford, stepping into the role, faced the daunting task of guiding a community in mourning on the brink of collapse. It was in this crucible of hardship that the Pilgrim's story would intertwine with that of the Native Americans, a meeting that would prove pivotal to the survival of the settlement. The region where the Pilgrims settled was not a monolithic territory governed by a single entity, but a mosaic of various tribes, each with its own culture, leadership, and alliances. The Wampanoag Confederacy, under the leadership of Chief Massasoit, was a dominant force in the region. The Confederacy was a loose alliance of several tribes, including the Patuxet, whose land the Pilgrims now occupied. The Wampanoag were known for their sophisticated political structures and active trade networks. The Patuxet, a band within the Wampanoag Confederacy, had been decimated by disease brought by earlier European explorers. Their numbers were so reduced that they ceased to exist as a distinct group by the time the Pilgrims arrived, leaving their land effectively unoccupied. To the north and east were the Abenaki, a larger grouping of tribes known for their fierce independence. The Abenaki's initial interactions with the Pilgrims were cautious but curious. leading to the first English-speaking Native Americans greeting to the settlers. The Narragansetts, the Wampanoags' powerful rivals to the west, had not been as severely affected by the epidemics. Their strength intact, they posed a significant threat to the Wampanoag, which partly motivated the latter's alliance with the Pilgrims. In this intricate tapestry of tribal politics, alliances were crucial. The Wampanoags' decision to ally with the Pilgrims was a calculated move to bolster their position against the Narragansetts and other adversaries. Squanto, with his unique position as a former Patuxet and his connections with the Wampanoag, became the linchpin in this strategic alliance. It was against this backdrop of shifting alliances and power struggles that Squanto made his bold introduction to the Pilgrims. His knowledge of English, gained through his own tragic experiences of abduction and time spent abroad, made him an invaluable intermediary. Squanto's approach was as audacious as it was unexpected. He walked into the Plymouth settlement, greeting the stunned Pilgrims in English, offering his knowledge and assistance. The Pilgrims, wary of the savages they had been warned about, were astonished by Squanto's demeanor and linguistic ability. His guidance in planting, fishing, and navigating the local political landscape was a turning point for the struggling colony. The land that the Pilgrims began to inhabit was not just a wilderness, but a political chessboard, with various Native American tribes maneuvering for power and survival. The Wampanoag Confederacy, under the sagacious leadership of Chief Massasoit, was a significant force in the region. This alliance of tribes, including the now nearly extinct Patuxet, was renowned for its political sophistication and extensive trade networks. The Patuxet had been devastated by diseases brought by European explorers, leaving the lands eerily uninhabited. This void would inadvertently offer the Pilgrims a place to settle without immediate conflict. The Abenaki, to the north, maintained their independence with vigilance. Their initial interactions with the Pilgrims were cautious, yet curious, leading to the first English-speaking Native American to extend a greeting to the settlers. The Narragansetts, a powerful tribe to the west, had not suffered as greatly from the epidemics. Their strength remained a looming threat to the Wampanoag. The Pilgrims, with their muskets and cannons, represented a new factor in the regional power dynamics. The Wampanoag, recognizing the potential of these formidable weapons, saw an opportunity in forging an alliance with the settlers. The trade agreement between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag was not just about resources, but also about security. The Pilgrims' firearms, a technology that the Native Americans had not mastered, became a cornerstone of the Mutual Protection Pact. For the Wampanoag, this alliance meant a deterrent against their rivals, and for the Pilgrims, it promised a safeguard against potential hostilities. Squanto's arrival at Plymouth was against this backdrop of strategic alliances and the looming threat of armed conflict. His knowledge of English and European ways, gained through his own abduction and travels, made him an invaluable intermediary. He understood the significance of the Pilgrims' weapons and the leverage that provided in negotiations. Squanto's approach to the Pilgrims was as strategic as it was bold. He greeted them in English, offering his knowledge and assistance. The Pilgrims, who had been wary of the native savages, were surprised by Squanto's friendly demeanor and linguistic skills. His guidance extended beyond agriculture and fishing. He also helped them understand the military value they held in the delicate balance of power. Following their initial meetings, the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag tribe embarked on a path of mutual benefit and cooperation. The exchange of knowledge and resources catalyzed a period of growth and stability that transformed both communities. The Pilgrims, once teetering on the brink of failure, now thrived with the agricultural knowledge imparted by the Wampanoag. Cornfields expanded under the settlers' care, and the storerooms of Plymouth brimmed with a bountiful harvest. while the Wampanoag gained access to European tools and goods. The changes that unfolded were profound. The Pilgrims' adaptation to their new home, guided by the wisdom of the Wampanoag and the strategic alliance they formed, laid the groundwork for a thriving community. It was a testament to the power of collaboration and the willingness to embrace change. Cultural exchanges went beyond trade and agriculture. Social interactions, though sometimes cautious, began to weave a tapestry of shared experiences. The Pilgrims learned from the Wampanoag's deep understanding of the land, while the tribe acquired new tools and objects that brought novelty and utility into their lives. The evolution of Plymouth colony was remarkable. From a precarious foothold in a new world to a burgeoning community, the Pilgrim settlement grew in size and sophistication. The construction of a fortified palisade and the establishment of a militia underscored the colony's increasing sense of permanence and security. The Mutual Protection Pact with the Wampanoag, underscored by the Pilgrims' firearms, was a cornerstone of the colony's security strategy. It was a deterrent that ensured peace and stability, allowing both the settlers and the tribe to focus on growth and prosperity. The enduring legacy of this period is one of cooperation and adaptation. The Pilgrims' willingness to learn from the Wampanoag, combined with the strategic foresight of their leaders, transformed a fragile outpost into a thriving community. It's a narrative that speaks to the potential of unity and the strength found in diversity. In the nascent years of Plymouth colony, the Pilgrims' communal system, an embodiment of their collective agreement, was put to the test. Land and resources were shared, and the fruits of labor were distributed equally among all. Yet this idealistic system faltered under the weight of practical challenges. The communal approach, while noble in intent, led to widespread discontent and a lack of individual incentive. The absence of a direct link between effort and reward led to a decline in productivity, threatening the colony's very survival. Governor William Bradford, confronted with the grim reality of low morale and depleting resources, instituted a transformative change. He divided the land among families, empowering them at the ownership of their labor and its fruits. This marked the dissolution of the communal system in favor of individual stewardship. The impact of Bradford's decision was immediate and profound. The settlers, now motivated by personal interest, tended their parcels with greater care, resulting in a surplus that eclipsed any previous harvests. A settler's journal entry captures the essence of this shift.
Each man might plant corn for his own particular, and in that regard, trust to themselves, and so assign to every family a parcel of land. This change rekindled hope and spurred a wave of industriousness across the colony.
The move towards individual enterprise laid the foundation for economic principles that would later become cornerstones of American society. Plymouth colony's success became a testament to the potential of private ownership and individual labor within a cooperative framework. Another entry reads,
"This had very good success, for it made all hands very industrious, so as much more corn was planted than otherwise would have been."
The settlers' own words reflect the transformative spirit that now drove the community forward. The tangible results of this shift were clear. Fields were abundant with crops, livestock numbers increased, and a marketplace thrived with trade. The settlers engaged in commerce, not only within their community, but also with native tribes and traders from afar. This period marked a profound cultural shift. The Pilgrims, in their quest for religious autonomy, inadvertently pioneered a new economic model. The principles of self-reliance and personal responsibility, born out of necessity, became the bedrock of the colony's ethos and a guiding principle for future generations. As the colony stabilized and prospered, the personal lives of its inhabitants continued to unfold, weaving stories of hope and resilience that became integral to the fabric of Plymouth's history. In the spring of 1621, two such stories began with Edward Winslow and Susanna White, both of whom had faced the profound loss of their spouses during the colony's devastating first winter. Susanna, who had braved the Atlantic aboard the Mayflower with her husband, William White, and their son Resolved, faced the trials of the New World with steadfast courage. In the midst of the colony's harshest days, she gave birth to Peregrine, the first English child born in New England. Her husband's death left her a widow, yet her strength never wavered. Edward Winslow, similarly bereaved by the loss of his wife, Elizabeth, found companionship and solace in Susanna, and together they embarked on a new chapter. Their marriage, solemnized with the simplicity of Pilgrim and Christian traditions, stood as a beacon of hope for the entire community. The ceremony, witnessed by fellow settlers, was a profound affirmation of life and continuity amidst the backdrop of survival and hardship. The story of Edward and Susanna did not end with their vows. It continued with the birth of their children, each one a testament to the enduring spirit of the Plymouth settlers. These births, celebrated by the entire community, were not merely personal joys, but communal triumphs, heralding the future of the colony. In a time when every life was precious, the community of Plymouth embraced each new child with open arms. The survival and growth of these children mirrored the survival and growth of the settlement itself, each new life a step towards the realization of their collective dream. These children, born in the New World, were the first of a new generation, embodying the hope and promise of Plymouth Colony. They were the living symbols of a new society emerging from the wilderness. A society that would one day extend far beyond the confines of their small settlement. The narratives of Edward and Susanna Winslow's children are but a few of the many stories of hope that defined the early years of Plymouth Colony. They serve as poignant reminders of the settlers' resilience and their unwavering belief in the promise of their new home. While hope and resilience were common threads in the fabric of Plymouth Colony, the settlement was not without its darker moments. These stories, often overshadowed by the more celebrated events, reveal the challenges and tribulations faced by the early settlers. The first duel in Plymouth, fought in 1621, between Edward Doty and Edward Leicester, servants of Stephen Hopkins, was a grim reminder of the passions and conflicts that simmered beneath the surface. Their choice of swords and daggers as weapons was a stark departure from the peaceful intentions of the colony. Though the duel ended without loss of life, the punishment was severe. Both men were bound head and feet together for 24 hours, without meat or drink. This harsh punishment was meant not only as a deterrent, but also as a public declaration of the colony's commitment to maintaining order and discipline. A more somber chapter in the colony's history is the tale of John Billington. Arriving on the Mayflower with his family, Billington was known for his unruly behavior. His story took a dark turn when he became the first person in Plymouth to be executed for murder, after fatally shooting a fellow colonist named John Newcomen following a heated dispute. This tragic event marked not only the first application of capital punishment in the new colony, but also its first recorded murder, setting a precedent for the rule of law in the face of grave transgressions. Another peculiar and grim tale is the murder most foul that occurred within the colony. A rooster, an invaluable asset for its role in the settlers' survival, was found dead under mysterious circumstances. The incident escalated into accusations and paranoia, with some whispering suspicions of witchcraft, a fear that would later grip much of New England. Upon investigation, it was discovered that the rooster had been killed by a predatory animal, likely a fox, which had managed to breach the safety of the henhouse. This revelation quelled the whispers of witchcraft, but served as a harsh reminder of the ever-present dangers of the wild. These darker narratives serve as a stark reminder of the complexity of life in Plymouth Colony. They highlight the settlers' struggle not only against the elements and the unknown, but also against the darker aspects of human nature. Yet even in its darkest hours, the colony's commitment to law and order, and the community's ability to persevere through adversity. Amidst the hardships and the monumental task of building a new society, the Pilgrims and their fellow settlers found time for laughter and lightheartedness, which were as vital to their survival as their more serious endeavors. The journey on the Mayflower was fraught with peril, but it also had its moments of unexpected humor. One such incident involved a pompous sailor who frequently cursed and belittled the seasick passengers. Promising to cast their bodies into the sea, he was met with an ironic fate when he became the first to succumb to illness, and was, in turn, given a watery grave by those he had mocked. Back on land, the settlers' attempts at animal husbandry provided a source of amusement. A particularly mischievous goat was known to cause havoc, breaking fences, raiding gardens, and even once leading a herd of cattle into the colony's meeting house during a service, much to the chagrin and secret amusement of the congregation. Even the solemn business of governance had its lighter side. During one of the first town meetings, a debate over the layout of the new settlement was interrupted by the sudden and dramatic collapse of a platform, sending several of Plymouth's most dignified leaders tumbling into a heap. The incident, while embarrassing, served to break the tension and reminded everyone that a sense of humor was an essential part of community life. These light-hearted anecdotes provide a glimpse into the daily lives of the Plymouth settlers, showing us that joy and humor were never completely absent from their lives. In the face of overwhelming challenges, it was often their ability to laugh and find joy in the absurd that helped sustain them.